So in lesson 25.1, we'll be multiplying binomials. Our learning targets are to use a graphic organizer to multiply expressions, and then to use the distributive property to multiply expressions. So in number 7, it says the office to the right has 8 squared computers. Fill in the number of computers in each section if it is split into a 5 plus 3 squared configuration. So we can make a square that has a length of 8 and width of 8 if we break 8 down into 5 plus 3. And then they want us to find the area of the smaller squares. So to do that, we will do 5 times 5 because the length times width, and that will give us 25. And then we'll do the same for the other squares. So the length over here would be 5, and the width would be 3. So 5 times 3 is 15. Over here, length 3, width 5, so 3 times 5 is 15. And then length 3, width 3, 3 times 3 is 9. So to find the total number of computers, you would take each area and add them together. So 25 plus 15 plus 15 plus 9. And that would give us 64. In number 9, we'll have to draw our own graphic organizers. So let's look at A. So we have a 2 plus 3 squared. So we'll draw our graphic organizer. We'll put 2 right here, and then 3, and then 2 and 3. Just like they had done previously. And then to find the area of each box, we'll do the same thing. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 3, 6. 3 times 3, which is 9. And then we'll add those together. And that will give us 25 computers. We can do the same thing for B. Draw our graphic organizer. So right here we'll put 4, because we know we have 4 computers going this way, and then another computer here, and then 4 computers here, and another computer here. So we do the same thing and do 4 times 4. So 4 computers by 4 computers is 16 computers. 4 computers by 1 computer, so 4 times 1 is 4. Same thing over here. And then 1 computer by 1 computer is 1 computer. Then we add them all up. And that gives us 25 computers in total. Now we can do the same thing for C. Draw our graphic organizer. So we know we have 3 computers here, and then 7 more, because of plus 7. And the same thing on this side, because it's squared. So 3 computers here and 7 computers more. So then we do 3 times 3, which is 9. 3 times 7, which is 21. 7 times 3, which is 21. And then 7 times 7 equals 49. Then we add them all up. And we get 100 computers in total. So when we're looking at this graphic organizer, we do the same thing. 7 got broken down into 4 and 3, and 5 got broken down into 3 and 2. And then what you do is 4 times 3 gives you 12. 4 times 2 gives you 8. 3 times 3 gives you 9. And 3 times 2 gives you 6. So they give us this graphic organizer, and they want us to do the distributive property using this graphic organizer. So they went ahead and filled out the sides. So that's the x minus 2, and this is the x minus 3. And you bring your sign with the number. So this minus 2, that sign comes with it. So here we can find the rectangles or squares. So x times x gives us x squared. X times negative 2 gives us negative 2x, because you want your number out in front. Here we get negative 3 times x, which you can just write it as negative 3x. And then here we get negative 3 times negative 2, and that gives us 6. So then we can rewrite this as taking the products of each square. So this one, we take x squared. Here we have negative 2x. Here, negative 3x plus 6. And that's not our final answer, because we have like terms we can combine to simplify our answer. So go ahead and bring down that x squared. Negative 2x minus 3x is negative 5x, and then bring down our 6. So this is your final answer. So now number 17 wants us to multiply the binomials in item 6 using the distributive property. So I'm going to rewrite it. So now using the distributive property, we'll start with the first variable in that first binomial, sorry. So x, and we'll multiply it by x, and that gives us x squared. Then we'll take the same x and multiply it by negative 3, which gives us negative 3x. Now we'll do the same thing with negative 2. So negative 2 to x, well, times x, is negative 2x. Then negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. So we can simplify this now by combining our like terms. So we bring down the x squared. Negative 3x minus 2x is negative 5x, and bring down our 6. So this is the same thing we got previously. So you can do it both ways. So now number 18. Let's look at 18a. And I'm rewriting it. So if we're using the distributive property, we'll take that x and multiply it by x. So x times x, and I'll write it like this time. Then x multiplied by -5. So I'm going to put my -5 first and multiply it by x. Now we do the same thing with -7. So -7 times x. So -7 times x. And then -7 times -5. And now we can simplify this. So x times x is x squared. Then we have -5x minus 7x. We can simplify that to -12x. And then -7 times -5 is positive 35. And that will be your answer to A. And now let's look at C. And I'm just rewriting it. So we do the same thing. X times x. So I'm going to go ahead and write x squared. Then x times positive 5. So plus 5x. Positive 7 times x. Positive 7x. And positive 7 times positive 5, which is plus 35. So now we have our two terms that are like terms that we can combine. So we bring down x squared. And then this is going to be 5 plus 7, so 12, and it has the variable x. And then bring down our 35. So there's your answer to that one. And if we look at these two, they're similar with their variables and their numbers. But the thing that's different is their signs, which affected it over here. So if they were both negative, then our middle term was negative. And if they were both positive, our middle term was positive. So let's just go ahead and do E for fun. So we do the same thing. 4x times x. The only thing different here is that x is not just x, it has a 4 in front. So 4x times x is going to be 4x squared. 4x times 3. So 4 times 3 is 12. And then we have that x multiplied 2. And now we got to do our 1. So 1 times x is x, or 1x. And then 1 times 3 is 3. So now we need to combine our like terms. So we bring down 4x squared. 12x plus x is 13x plus 3. And that's your answer for that one. So now lesson 25-2, our learning targets are to multiply binomials and find special products of binomials. So in number 1A, we're going to do the same thing we were doing previously. So let's use the distributive property. So we have x times x, which gives us x squared. X times -1 is -1x. And now we do the same thing with 1. 1 times x is plus 1x. And 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So now we need to simplify our answer because they are like terms. So we'll bring down our x squared. And what happens with the middle two terms is negative 1x plus 1x adds to 0. So you can write plus 0, but you don't need to. And then we bring down our negative 1. So that would be your answer. Now let's look at D. So we're doing the same thing, but now there's some numbers in front of x. So we take 2x and multiply by 2x. So 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x squared. 2x times 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. And we have that x. Multiply by that x. And now we do the same thing with negative 3. So negative 3 times 2x. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6 times x. And then negative 3 times positive 3 is negative 9. So now we need to combine our like terms if there are any, which in this case there are. And so 6x minus 6x will add to 0. So then we're left with 4. I'll go ahead and put this 0. 4x squared minus 9, which is your answer. So if you notice from these two answers, this has an understood 1 in front of it, which 1 is a perfect square, x squared is a perfect square, and 1 again is a perfect square, and there's a minus sign, and this one has a subtraction sign too. 4 is a perfect square, x squared is a perfect square, and 9 is a perfect square. So in these two cases, well, in all of these cases, if you were to do B and C, we would have a difference of 2 squares. So number 3 says to use the patterns you found in items 1 and 1 to explain how you found the product of A plus B, A minus B, and that's just a general case. So if we were to multiply this out the same way, we would do A times A, which is A squared, A times negative B, which is negative AB, B times A, which is positive AB, and B times negative B, which is negative B squared. So your two terms in the middle would add to 0 because negative AB plus AB. So we'd be left with A squared minus B squared, which is just the general case of what we've done before. So now number 4 says to determine each product. So now we're looking at a few different ones, and this is x plus 1 times x plus 1. So I'm going to write it over here to the side, and I'm going to write that twice. X plus 1, because that's what that means. That squared means that we have 2 of these. So now we're doing the same thing. We do x times x, which is x squared, x times 1, so plus x, 1 times x, so plus x, and 1 times 1, which is plus 1. Combine our like terms, so then we get x squared plus 2x plus 1. Now if we do B, I'm going to write it twice again. and we're going to do the same thing. So 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times y is plus 4y. Y times 4 is 4y, and y times y is y squared. So then we combine our like terms, and we get 16 plus 4 plus 4 is 8y plus y squared. And now let's do D. So I'm going to do the same thing and write them twice. So we do 2y times 2y. So 2 times 2 is 4. Y times y is y squared. Then we take 2y and multiply it by 3. So 2 times 3 is 6 times y. 3 times 2y. 3 times 2 is 6. And then we have that multiplied by y. And then 3 times 3 is 9. Combine our like terms. So 6y plus 6y is 12y. And bring everything else down because they're not like terms to anything else in the problem. And so now you have your answer for this. And if we compare all of these, we see that all of these problems have positive signs. And we see that 4 times 4 gives us that 16. That y times y gives us that y squared. And we also see that 4 is 2 places too. So if we're writing this in a general case, we could multiply these out too. So I'm going to start with the a plus b. So a times a is a squared. A times b plus ab. B times a plus ab. You write them in order of the alphabet. And then b times b, so plus b squared. We combine our like terms, so we get a squared. Now we have 2 of these. So plus 2ab plus b squared. So that is how you would do a square of a binomial. Quickly, if you see the pattern, if you see that it's a square binomial. And then the a minus b, I want to work it out quickly. So a squared minus ab plus b squared, because that negative b times negative b. And then combine like terms. A squared minus 2ab plus b squared. So the difference between the two is that your middle term is going to be negative if you have 2 negatives. And then up here, it's going to be positive if you have positives for your square of a binomial. So lesson 25.3, our learning targets are to use a graphic organizer to multiply polynomials and use the distributive property to multiply polynomials. So in number 1, we can use a graphic organizer to do this, and they give us an example up here for this. So they took that x plus 2 and did the same thing like they would if this was just 2 terms. if it was a binomial. And this is a polynomial because it has 3 or more. So they just did the same thing. There's just this extra box right here for that 3. So then they multiplied to find the product for each one, just like we've done before. And then they combine their like terms. And these are your like terms. So this is how 2x squared plus 2x squared is how they got 4x squared. And then 3x plus 4x is how they got 7x. So in number 3, it says to determine each product by using the distributive property. So now we just have one variable getting multiplied here to the other terms. So we take x and multiply it by x, so we get x squared, and then x multiplied by 5, so plus 5x, and that's your answer. Now B, we're going to do the same thing we've been doing before. So x times x is x squared. X plus times 6 is positive 6x. Sorry, forgot to draw my arrow. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. Then we combine our like terms. So we get 6x minus 3x is positive 3 minus 18. So that's your answer for that one. And now let's look at C. Now you can use the distributive property for this, or you can use the graphic organizer. And I'll use the graphic organizer for now. Okay, so we have x plus 7, so x plus 7. And then I have my other polynomial over here. So in this first box, it's going to be 3x squared. My next box is going to be negative x. Take that negative sign with you. And then negative 1. So now we're going to do it the same way we've been doing before. So 3x squared times x. If you were to write this 3x squared out, you're going to have 3 times x times x times x, because I brought that one down. So how many x's do we have? We have 3, and we also have that whole number of 3 out in front. So 3 times x raised to a third. And I'll circle it just so we remember. And 3x squared times 7, so 7 times 3 is 21, and then we have multiplied by x squared. Negative x times x, how many x's do we have in total? We have 2, and there's only one negative, so we know it's negative. Over here, 7 times negative x is going to be negative 7x. And then x times negative 1 is negative x, or negative 1x. And then negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. So now we need to combine like terms. So our like terms are going to be our x squared squares and then our x's. So we can go ahead, oh sorry, y'all can't see. So we'll go ahead and bring down our 3x cubed. Now our x squares, we have a negative x squared and a positive 21x squared. So 21 minus 1 is 20, and we put our x squared. Negative x minus 7x is going to be negative 8x, and then we bring down that negative 7, and that'll be your answer. So, to determine each product, these are a little bit different, and that is because now we have 3 binomials. We can only multiply 2 binomials at a time. So, let's start with the first 2. You can pick whichever 2 you would like, but I'm picking the first 2. So, I'm just rewriting them over here. And you can use the box method if that's what you would like. That's up to you. So, we're going to do this. I'm doing distributive property. So, x times x is x squared. X times 1 is x. Negative 2 times x, negative 2x. And negative 2 times 1. Combine your like terms. So x squared minus x minus 2. So we just multiplied the first 2 binomials together. Well, now we got to multiply it by this third binomial. So I'm going to put my answer in parentheses and we'll put in parentheses on the side 2x plus 2, that third binomial. So now we do the same thing with distributive property. So x squared gets multiplied by 2x. So 2x cubed, we'll have 3 x's. X squared times 2, so plus 2x. And now we're going to do negative x. Same thing to both terms in these parentheses. So negative x times 2x is going to be negative 2x. So instead of placing it right here, I'm going to place it right here so that my like terms line up. So then negative x times 2 is plus 2x. I missed a squared, my bad. This was x squared times 2. I just forgot to add my 2, my squared. And then right here, I forgot to add my square. So now, we got to do negative 2 the same way. And I'll go underneath this time. So negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. So now we need to combine our like terms to simplify our answer. So there's no other cube, so just bring down 2x cubed. Now 2x squared minus 2x squared is 0. So if you like plus 0. Plus 2x minus 4x, so we're going to have a negative 2x, and then bring down that negative 4 because there's nothing it can combine with. So your final answer is 2x squared, 2x cubed minus 2x minus 4. And now let's do B. So I'm picking the first 2, and we'll find the product of them. So x times 3x is 3x squared. X times 1 is x. 3 times 3x is 9x. And 3 times 1 is 3. Combine your like terms. So now we need to bring in the third binomial. And I'm going to write it over here. It's multiplication, so you can put it in the front or the back. So now we're going to do the same thing. 2x times 3x squared is going to give you 2 times 3, which is 6, and x times x squared is x cubed. 2x times 10x, 2 times 10 is 20, and x times x is x squared. 2x times 3 is 6x. And now this is where I'll start writing them under the corresponding term, so I can combine them easily. So negative 1 times 3x squared. So negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. So negative 3x squared. So it will go right here. Negative 1 times 10x. Negative 10x. Negative 1 times 3. Negative 3. So now we can combine our like terms. Nothing is under 6x cubed, so bring it down. 20x squared minus 3x squared is positive 17x squared. 6x minus 10x is negative 4x. And negative 3. We bring it down. And that is your answer for